Hey guys, David here with the Greenwald Treehouse, back with another story for you. Let me tell you a story about a caliph, basically a king, and his vizier named Jafar. Apparently, all of viziers are named Jafar. Anyway, one day the caliph tells Jafar to come meet him. Hey Jafar, I want you to go down into the town and see how many people like the government. If there's anyone doing a bad job, we'll get rid of them. Sure thing, Jafar says, and he goes down to the city and walks around the marketplace. He finds this old man carrying a fishing net and talking to himself and complaining about his life. But he's doing it in a really poetic way, so Jafar takes him to see the caliph. So what do you do? The caliph asks, clearly not noticing the fishing net. I'm a fisherman, the man says, although I'm out there all day and I can't catch anything. I have a family to feed and we're all going hungry. I hate my life. Honestly, I wish I was dead. How about this? The caliph says, taking pity on the man. You go throw your net in the river, and I will pay you 100 gold pieces for whatever you catch. Heck yeah, the man says, and he runs off to the river. He throws his net in, and he pulls it back after a while. This time, there's a huge chest caught in it, so he brings it back. I gotta admit, if I were the caliph, I'd be a little bit suspicious. This man couldn't catch a fish, and suddenly he catches a huge chest, but whatever. So the caliph is so impressed, he pays the man 200 gold pieces. So the man leaves super happy, and suddenly he's pretty rich. The chest is locked, so Jafar gets a guy to come and break it open. Inside is a basket, and when they open that, they find a beautiful young woman, completely dead from a stab wound in the chest. Well, the caliph is very upset at this. What have things come to? The people are just murdered and thrown in a chest in the river? We gotta find this murderer and avenge this poor woman. What's more, Jafar, if you don't find him, I'm gonna hang you from the gate with 40 of your relatives. This is why we got rid of kings a while ago. Give me 3 days, Jafar says, who's suddenly in a kind of a sticky situation. The caliph agrees, and Jafar goes home with no idea what he's gonna do. Jafar stays at home for 3 days until the caliph calls him again. So, who killed her? With all due respect, Your Majesty, Jafar says, how would I know? All right, the caliph says, up you go with 40 of your relatives, and I'm going to pick the ones you like best. So, they're arrested, and people come from all over to see the execution of Jafar and his relatives, even though no one has any clue why. People generally liked him, so they're quite sad that he's being killed. Jafar and the others, they're up on the gallows, about to be killed, when a handsome young man pushes his way through the crowd. Hey, Jafar, I'm the one who killed the woman, so you should go hang me instead of you. Oh, thank God, Jafar says, although he doesn't really want to kill this young man either. At this point, an older man also pushes his way through the crowd. This guy is lying, he says. I killed the woman, so you gotta hang me. Jafar, the young man says, this guy's old and senile. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm the killer. So they're arguing back and forth, and the crowd is just loving it, of course. Just for the weirdness of it all. Jafar doesn't know what to think, but he's like, whatever. He takes him back to the caliph and says, well, I found the killer. Who is it? The caliph asks. It's one of these guys. The caliph asks them, and again they start arguing about who did it. Fine, kill them both, the caliph says, who's always happy to kill more of his citizens. Yeah, but that's not fair, Jafar says. If you do that, you'll be killing an innocent man. Look, I can prove I'm the guy, the young man says. And he describes everything about the woman and the chest, so the caliph is finally convinced. Okay, fine. You're the guy, the caliph says. But why did you do it? And why did you confess? She was my wife, the young man says. This old guy's her father. We got married, the wife and I, and had 3 sons. We were happy together, and then one day she got sick. I got the doctor, but it didn't really help. There's something I really want, she says. An apple. I was like, yeah, sure. And I went out there, and there were none to be found, not even for a gold piece. They weren't in season. I went back and told her this, and she was so upset that I went up to before dawn the next day, and I checked every garden just to see if I could find any. Finally, I met an old gardener and asked him. They're really rare around here, the gardener says. The only ones that I know are in a garden far away that's kept just for the caliph's use. Well, that didn't stop me, the young man said. So I got some stuff together and I traveled 2 weeks to the garden and bought 3 apples from the gardener there. Wait a second, the caliph interrupts. One of my gardeners sold you apples from my private stash? Anyway, the young man continues quickly. So I brought them back and she wouldn't eat them or even touch them. Well, I was pretty annoyed, but I went back to work, having missed a month to go get these apples for her. That afternoon, this cook walks in, and he's holding an apple. I knew he was a cook because of his hat. Where did you get that at? I asked. Apples being rare and all. There was this woman I met that had 3 of them, he said. She said her idiot husband had traveled weeks to get them. We hung out for a while, and she offered one of them to me. Well, the young man says, I was furious. As you can imagine, I went home and I saw she only had 2 apples. Where's the 3rd apple? I asked. I don't know, she says, all tired and depressed like. Gone. Well, I figured the man was telling the truth, and a rage came over to me. I killed her and I stuck her in the chest. Now please, Majesty, you gotta hang me quick. I'm afraid she's gonna try to get vengeance on me on the day of judgment, and here's why. I went home, and my oldest son was crying. I asked what was wrong, and he goes, I saw those apples, and I took one to go play with it. I was outside, and this man, who looked like a cook, the hat, came and he grabbed it. He asked where I got it, and I said my father traveled 2 weeks to go get it for my mom. He wouldn't give it back, and he took off with it. I'm really afraid Mom's going to be mad with me. Well, I was crushed when I heard this, and I went over to my father-in-law. And we've both been weeping about it ever since, for the last 5 days. This is all my fault, so please kill me so that my poor wife can have justice. Well, the caliph is pretty amazed at this, and for the first time in his life, he doesn't want to kill one of his citizens. Well, that's not your fault, he said. It's that lying jerk of a cook who made you do it. We got to go find him and hang him. Jafar, you go find him, would you? And if you don't find him in 3 days, I'm going to kill you instead. This is the worst job ever, Jafar thinks as he leaves. The young man hasn't even given a description besides having a cook's hat, so it's not like he can find the right person. So he decides to just go home and hang out for the last 3 days with his family, plus make a will, which he inexplicably didn't do the last time that he was about to die. So he stays at home for 3 days, and then the caliph's guard finally come and get him on the 4th day. Hey, Jafar, they say. The caliph is royally mad, so we've got to hang you. Sorry. Jafar says goodbye to all his children, and when he hugs his youngest daughter, he feels something in her pocket. He pulls it out, and it's an apple. Where'd you get this? He asks. Our cook Rayhan gave it to me 4 days ago, she said. I've just been carrying it around. So Jafar's happy to hear this, but in that moment, the true miracle seems to be that this apple isn't a mass of bruises, considering how many people have been passing it back and forth. But at that point, the guards let Jafar go and find the cook before they hang him. Hey, Rayhan, where'd you get this apple? I didn't steal it from you, I swear, Rayhan said. I just stole it from a boy who was playing with it in an alley. Well, Jafar is very glad to hear this, that his life can be saved, but he's very sad because it's really hard to find a good cook. However, he brings Rayhan to the caliph and tells him the whole story. The caliph, who's just a terrible person, laughs and laughs until he falls over holding his sides. Hey, write this down, he says, calling a scribe over. We got to tell everybody about this. Okay, I know a story way better than this, Jafar says. Well, yeah? Tell me. I won't tell you until you pardon my cook, Jafar says, who's just dreading telling his wife that he lost their cook. Okay, fine, the caliph says. Jafar sits down and tells him a story about a guy named Nur al-Din and his son. But I'm not going to tell you here, otherwise this video would last forever. The end. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for tuning in again. If you like these, hit like and subscribe and send it to all your friends. We'll do more of these later. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.